Hey, ladies and gentlemen, fellas, what's going on? What's poppin'? Supposed to be an 8-game slate, already down to a 7-game slate. Have now had 3 games canceled since yesterday afternoon. Two of them have been the Celtics games. Apparently don't have enough players, or at least that's the sentiment that we're getting right now. They had 8 players for yesterday, then the game got canceled, so I assume that there was some question marks around getting some test results back. Knowing that they already canceled tomorrow's game, I assume that they do not have the appropriate amount of players. So what's up, everybody? 7 game slate we'll be breaking down today on Monday. For whatever reason, like Monday through Thursday, obviously the weekend, I guess it's tougher to keep up with NBA DFS. All the days that people really like to play, especially with no showdown slates on Monday or Thursday anymore for the NFL, really like to play. So excited to be here, answer your questions. We're starting a little bit earlier today because I'll actually be live at 5 p.m., not here, but on the First Cut YouTube channel, which is with Rick Gaiman over there, CBS podcast, talking about the golf event this week, which last week went to a playoff, the first golf event, but it was a small field event, 44 golfers, I believe. Now we'll be getting up to a larger field event, not a full 158, 160 person field around there, but around 140, 142. So we'll be talking that if you want to listen to some golf at 5 p.m. I retweeted the link, but right now we'll be talking for about the next 45, 50 minutes or so right now about this NBA slate. I'm here to just answer your questions, right? That's what I'm here for. It's going to be a wacky slate. We already have some news. Obviously, there's a game not on the slate anymore that had some value, that had some upside, that had Kristaps Porzingis returning in that Dallas-New Orleans game. Definitely not the worst game to lose. Makes it a little bit easier if you're choosing pay-up options, right? Luka was looking decent, but not great, but obviously has that GPP upside. And there's some other value plays like James Johnson in that game, Tim Hardaway Jr., some other options. So it makes it a little bit easier to narrow some stuff down. There's a lot of value right now in Philadelphia, which I saw some people in the chat. We'll get to those questions in a second. So lots to answer here. I have all my projections rankings up on Patreon. They'll be updated up until lock and then throughout lock. So any big news that happens, we'll be sure to update that over on Patreon so you're all caught up. It's going to be a huge benefit for you. So like, subscribe to those things. And the other thing, fellas, is the Super Draft, sponsor of the show. Live streams right now. Super Draft is sponsoring these NBA live streams. Very excited about that for Monday right now. If you want to check out Super Draft, it's a multiplier format. We have those projections as well. Let me see what we're looking like on Super Draft right now if I pull this up. So a lot of these 76ers are going to look great over there. Right now, Tyrese Maxey, the Philadelphia 76ers right now, probably shooting guard / point guard, likely going to handle much of the point guard responsibilities tonight because they've got about 6 bodies not out there. And pretty much all their ball handlers are not out there for the most part. Whether it is their ball handler, their main guy in Ben Simmons, whether it is Milton, who is basically the other ball handler on that team, controls the point a lot, especially when Simmons is not on the court. And then other guys that can be ball handlers for them, whether it's Thibault, Korkmaz more so in lesser extent of minutes. So, yeah, he's going to be out there. He is our number 1 Super Draft play by 5.5 points tonight over on Patreon. So, yeah, Maxey's going to look good. He's the best 76er because he's the best player in the slate, but Embiid will look good over there as well. So if you have any questions on Super Draft, just let us know. If you want to sign up for it, check it out, see what it's all about. You can use my name, Sal. They'll give you a free money bonus up to $1,000 Rooskies. You get it in a slow drip format, meaning that as you play, they kick it back to you. It basically eliminates the rake, and if there is no rake, you're getting paid money to enter that contest then. So check that out. I'm sure we'll talk about Super Draft throughout the show. It is a major benefit to be trying to play over there if you're prioritizing that, right? If you're playing DraftKings and Super Draft, you're going to be, in the long term, in my opinion, having a very good time in terms of your ROI in Super Draft. I saw some people talking in the chat about Super Draft. I'll get up to the top questions, but I saw somebody said about Kamara status on Super Draft was listed as out all day yesterday. Honestly, personally, as a player, as somebody who's playing right now, I mean, if you're controlling Super Draft the site, yeah, you would like to see that updated. But, I mean, you see that on DraftKings. DraftKings is usually the best at keeping that all updated, but FanDuel for the NBA, you'll see like 3-4 times a night when guys that are playing are ruled out, guys that are playing are still ruled questionable, right? So you can never go by any site's injury designation because they're just using APIs. So whatever the API is, I mean, Superdraft and FanDuel might be using the same API. Whatever the API is, it's just basically sending in a signal saying this guy is ruled questionable, right? So whatever their API is, as often as that updates, is probably how often their stuff is updating. There's not like a guy manually going in there and changing stuff that works for FanDuel or Superdraft or stuff like that. But you should like that, right? I honestly like that. Like whenever that happens on FanDuel and people complain, I'm like, if you're paying attention to news, if you're on Twitter, if you know how to pay attention to this news, you're at an advantage, right? So I don't know how many people actually got turned away from Alvin Kamara in a playoff game being ruled out on there, but if it was more than 0, well, that's a benefit to the players that are paying attention, right? So I personally like that. But yeah, like, subscribe to those things. Appreciate you all here. Somebody says, I'm early. Hey, my man Dave was in here real early. He said, I won $18 on a $5 entry. Looking to double/triple up multipliers tonight for NBA. Point me in the right direction. Mr. Salvador. He says D-O-R-E. Not the T-O-R-E. Interesting. Made me Hispanic there instead of Italian. Not bad, not bad. Shit show injury slate, somebody said. Hooray. Lots of value already. It's not even injuries, right? It's health for the most part. One game canceled because of health. We have other teams down right now, bodies on this slate, mainly the 76ers because of quote-unquote health. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of injuries. Russell Westbrook's going to remain out for more weeks now. There's still going to be injuries. I mean, Trae Young is probable as of right now. You're looking at some guys like Rashawn Holmes and Buddy Hield questionable. So there's always injuries in the NBA, more so this year because we touched on it in the video this morning if you didn't get to watch it, but less back-to-backs, right? They're forcing 72 games into a condensed season with no All-Star break, way less back-to-backs than usual. So instead of guys getting 2 days off pretty much between every single game, they're getting like 0 to 1 day now. So it's going to probably do something that some of these veterans like Russell Westbrook that has played 10 plus years and some of these other guys, they're going to build in some rest for themselves, like LeBron said at the beginning of the year, but it's also probably just taking a toll on their body. You're not used to playing 5 times a week, right? Alrighty, so let's get into it. Let's see some questions. How much Philly? 5 guys, question mark? Yeah, I'm not going to play 5 Philadelphia 76ers today. How many do I think are pretty firmly in play today? Yeah, there's a good amount. Like, I wouldn't fault you at all for playing 3. I think you can play 4. Am I trying to play 4? No. I think there's other value on the slate. I think there's other upside pieces. But there's probably tonight, there's probably 4 that I feel pretty comfortable about getting to, and 2 that I really want. Maxey being one of them, and Embiid being another of the ones that I really want tonight. If you're playing cash, in my opinion, that's probably where you start. In GPPs as well, you can easily start there. The other guys that look good from Philly tonight, Mike Scott. You also have Danny Green. Like, those 4 guys I just said are all borderline top 5 plays for me tonight. They're all my top 6, I believe. After that, there's some guys that still stand out, right? Guys like Paul Reed, guys you're not going to know. I barely knew until this morning. Started to project them the other night over the weekend. Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed, right? These sound like just made-up characters in NBA 2K in my career mode. But these are some guys that are going to see minutes. They're going to see mid to upper 20s in minutes today, and they're not great players, but they're just going to get that much usage at very, very cheap price points right now, basically in the low 4K range, or in Paul Reed's case, the low 3K range. Other guys still in the slate, too, that can maybe pop off a little bit for Philadelphia, right? Dakota, I believe it's Mathis, but he's somebody that got a lot of his run late in that game, so I'm not going to expect too much from him. So, yeah, obviously, Philadelphia is the value today, and also the upside in Joel Embiid's case in terms of overall points today. My highest projected overall player today, I believe, is Mr. Joel Embiid, and he is nowhere. Yep, it's Joel Embiid over Giannis by 5 points. So Joel Embiid's my highest projected player on Patreon by 5 points today. You can follow that along down below. So yeah, it's very good for the 76ers. A lot of people, including the X amount of people that see this live stream, watch the stream this morning. Currently in here, 250 people, so I appreciate you tuning in from your jobs, your lunch break, wherever you are, time-wise, East Coast, West Coast. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to be using probably pretty similar information, or at least seeing pretty similar information and knowing that the 76ers are the plays, so we already know that. That's established. They're a good plays tonight. It is figuring out what to do after that. And I think that there's enough value to load up on 2 studs, whether you want to play Embiid and Giannis, or Bradley Beal and Giannis, or Embiid and Drummond, right? Things like that. Or Bradley Beal and Embiid, right? Embiid or Randall tonight, says Blake. I actually like Randall too. He is my 5th highest projected player. I have interest in a lot of these pay-up options, like I just mentioned. I like them today because it's so much value on the slate already, right? We lost guys like James Robinson and maybe some guys like Trey Burke if you were wanting to play him today from Dallas, but there's still a lot of value, and I think there might only become more if, say, Buddy Hield is out, if, say, Rashawn Holmes is out, right? If, say, yet again, Colin Sexton is out. So some stuff to keep up with. Also keep in mind, or at least something to note, Yogi Farrell, the former Sacramento King, he signed with the Cavs today, and he's eligible to play. He is a guard, so if Colin Sexton was to miss, I think that you probably see Yogi Farrell enter the rotation. Them signing him today might actually lean towards them saying, hey, we might actually have to sit Colin Sexton again today, so maybe that's something reading between the lines a little bit to get ahead of the ball there. But he would definitely see some run. They're already lacking guards. They're needing Okoro to play like 40 minutes, and the rookie has not been great. And it's tough to throw him into more ball handling responsibilities. Dotson played 40 minutes in the last game, so they're really short at the guard position. You're going to see Yogi Farrell. He might not be fantasy worthy, but it just might be an indication that you're not going to see Sexton out there again tonight. But yeah, loading up on 2 studs. My answer, though, to you between Embiid and Randall is Embiid in both formats, GPPs and cash. Anybody playing Mike Scott in cash today? I think he's cash eligible. Mike Scott looks like a pretty strong play in terms of value. I have him for about 20 fantasy points tonight. He's my number 2 overall value. I would like to see if he's starting or not. That would be pretty cool if he's starting. Either way, I feel confident in terms of the amount of minutes that he can get. We can pull up Philadelphia right now so you can see where I'm kind of going with minutes to this point in the day. It's kind of a guessing game because we don't really know these rotations. We've had like a half a game to understand what these rotations are because the game ended up being a blowout. We could feel comfortable about Maxey, about Green, about Embiid. I feel comfortable about their minutes. And then, yeah, I gave Mike Scott 30 minutes. So assuming that Mike Scott starts, Isaiah Joe starting at the 2, Maxey, or even the 3, we'll end up seeing. I think that you're probably going to see a starting lineup of Maxey, Joe, Green, Mike Scott, and Embiid, right? And I think that's where you can go from there. Paul Reed playing the backup 4, maybe get some 3 run as well. So, yeah, I think Mike Scott's firmly in play. If you wanted to play him in cash, I really can't fault you at a $3,000 flat minimum price point. It is really hard for him to hurt you today. especially if he gets some minutes. Cole Anthony's going to go ham today. Yeah, no Evan Fournier, no Michael Carter-Williams, no for the rest of the season, Markelle Fultz. So a third opportunity now for Cole Anthony to play 30-plus minutes and do something. We touched on it on the video this morning. He has been very bad, extremely bad as a shooter this season. Will that turn around tonight? If it does, he's going to start to actually knock down these shots and play well, right? But he's shooting like 38% effective field goal percentage right now. That is one of the worst. What is it exactly? 34.2% effective field goal rate, right? And he's still averaging 0.88 fantasy points per minute. So it's because of his assist, 21% assist percentage, averaging almost a 15% defensive rebounding rate. So this guy's picking up fantasy points without even shooting the ball, right? The most correlated stat in NBA DFS is being able to put the ball in the bucket. When you put the ball in the bucket, you directly get 100% of those points, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But it's interesting because, if he just starts shooting the ball, he's going to have big performances. He's getting big minutes. He's getting big usage. He's getting the assists. He's getting the rebounds. He's getting the shots. He's just not making them. So if he can become a basketball player and actually make the shots, a guard, right, he'll have big day he's kind of priced for it. I don't think he's going to have a LaMelo 60-point day, but a mid-30s in fantasy points type of a day. Yeah, upper 30s. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Carter says, yo, what's up, man? Got my first big win the other night thanks to Sal. $275 on a $12 buy-in. Hey, that's fantastic, man. Crack the Code says, somebody says, DK trying the okie doke everyone with the Q tags. Yeah, man, you can't be following the sites like questionable tags and stuff like that. They're rarely updated in real time. They're usually updated at best like after an hour after news breaks. So I wouldn't be focusing too much on that. And also, like, when you're looking at a slate in the morning, if a guy was like out yesterday or out from 2 games ago, they're going to rule that guy out, right? So I wouldn't look too much into those types of stuff. But good question so far. What's good, Sal? Always appreciate it. But and it's a big old booty, says Cody. What's up, man? Embiid, no question there. I agree. I'm playing Mike Scott in cash here. Nice. How many Sixers are too many in cash? 3 to 4. Depends on the lineup. I'm personally not playing cash, so I really can't give you my expert analysis there, or like my first-hand experience. I would lean to say that in cash tonight, 3, because I think you're getting value in 2 of those guys, probably Maxey and Green, if that's where you want it to go. Honestly, yeah, 4 is not bad. If 4, basically, I don't have DraftKings up to build a lineup here, but 4, assuming that it's Scott, Embiid, Green, and Maxey is what I'm assuming you're saying there. You want to have enough upside too. Like, that gives you a pretty sturdy floor. The upside you get from, I think, Maxey, decent amount Green. Scott, I question a little bit, but there's definitely 30 plus point upside there in the minutes as well, or higher than 30 where I have him at. If it gets you a second stud, which I'm assuming it does when you have 2 cheap guys, really 3 cheap guys with Danny Green, Maxey, and Scott. So if you're able to afford an Embiid and a Bradley Beal, yeah, I think I start to like that. More so in cash than GPPs. I probably only want to go 3 because some things can get wonky there. Although we're giving these guys minutes, like you can see Paul Reed be the guy who just plays a little bit better or even plays better than Mike Scott. Like Paul Reed to Mike Scott right now, I mean, depending on who gets more minutes, they're kind of identical players. Mike Scott is the veteran, right? More usage, all that type of stuff. I would say long-term better player, but recently, I don't know, right? Pretty similar. I wouldn't be shocked if Paul Reed's the one scoring 26 and Mike Scott scoring 16 today, right? So that's where you can get hurt in GPPs. In cash, when Mike Scott scores 16, it's not great for you. You might not sweep 100% of your cash games, but it's not ruining you at 3K. In GPPs, that is ruining your lineup. I do triple and quintuple ups. Interesting. Big Energy, what's up, man? How you doing? How we feeling about Drummond tonight, guys? Drummond is I don't know if you guys are like keeping up about what's happening with Drummond right now, and it's only going to continue to stay this way if Sexton's out today. But even when Sexton's on the court, he's doing the same thing. Like, he is controlling the plays. Like, he's leading the offense right now as a center that stands underneath the rim. He's literally at the 3-point line running the offense at times. I don't know if people are seeing this. He has currently a career high 31.8% usage rate, a career high 16% assist percentage, right? This guy's nuts. Obviously, you get the 39% defensive rebounding rate, but don't sleep on Drummond. Yeah, his price is now back up to the 9K range after it dropped improperly to like $86 and $8,400 on back-to-back slates. Then he goes out there and drops another 50 burger. Don't sleep on Drummond. $9,200. Embiid's the better play. Yes, in cash, Embiid's probably the better play, even in GPPs if the ownership is even within like 10 to 15%. I still have Embiid there at this point, but Drummond is playing a totally different role than we've ever seen from Drummond before. His usage is insane. He is touching the ball at an insane clip, and you know the rebounds are coming. You know the double-doubles are basically built in at this point. It's just a matter of does he go 20-20, right? So, yeah, I assume that you're going to be seeing pretty healthy ownership on Embiid today. That shouldn't shock anybody. I think that it will drop down Drummond because they play the same position and are in similar price ranges. That being said, though, I still think Drummond picks up enough ownership because people will be pairing up Drummond and Embiid together or just playing Drummond in general. Like, I don't think that the ownership is going to be 50% on Embiid on a 7-game slate. Was it going to be an 8-game slate? Don't believe it's going to be 50% on a 7-game slate. Probably, I would say upper 20s, like 28%, which probably puts Drummond around like 20%, upper teens. So I still prefer Embiid there, but Drummond is, yeah, he's still a very strong play. He's still too cheap, in my opinion. Drummond was $10,000 at points last year and the year before that, right? He should be in that range right now because he's seeing even more usage than he ever did last year as well, and the year before that when he was popping off. How is Drummond $9,900 on FanDuel? I'm not too sure over there. I'm not too sure if you're saying that's too expensive or too cheap. Do you like Danny Green tonight? Yes, I do. Danny Green's a top 5 play for me. Why is Phoenix only favored by 5.5? Couldn't tell you. Their gel and mixture together so far is something that I think will be better as the season goes on. Really, Devin Booker and Chris Paul playing together is only going to get stronger, in my opinion, because I personally think Chris Paul makes every single player that he plays with better. I think that's just how he plays his game. But we haven't really seen that too much right now. What do we got here? Is playing 4 dudes from Philly in cash the play? 3 to 4 is probably the decision. I haven't gotten into the weeds to really see what that extra cheap Philadelphia player like a Danny Green or a Mike Scott, right, that fourth one in. I think that the two that you're definitely going for today in cash would have to be, I would say they probably have to be Embiid and Maxey, right, just in terms of usage of where you're going to see the biggest minutes probably still. And like for a game to really get out of hand for those guys is tough at their price points. I think Embiid's still cheap for the usage you're about to see from him and stuff like that. Alrighty. Randall or Drummond, says Aiden. $5 donation super chat. Appreciate that, man. I will go with Drummond there. After basically everything I just said, I'll go with Drummond there for sure. Thank you. Aiden also donates another $5. Appreciate that. He says Beal and Dotson or Booker and LaMelo tonight. Let me see. Beal and Dotson or Booker and LaMelo tonight. I really don't want to be playing Booker tonight, but I also don't want to be playing Dotson. I much prefer. I like LaMelo and Beal, but that's not the question. I'd prioritize Beal, so I'd take the Beal and Dotson side of that one. If Sexton is in, feel a little bit weary about the Dotson side, but I'll still go to that side. I really want to prioritize Beal tonight. I like LaMelo, but he's not as much a priority as Beal, and I'm not really on Booker tonight all that much. So what do? Do I play Randall and Joel or Beal and Joel? I would go with Beal and Joel there. I prioritize Beal and Joel as of right now in this slate. Beal's averaging like 1.68 fantasy points per minute so far, somewhere around there. Let me see. Without Westbrook on the court this year. Now there's no Thomas Bryant, so in terms of usage for Thomas Bryant, wasn't crazy, but he was still drawing some pretty decent usage. It's only going to get better for him. Like, this is the Bradley Beal of last year when every single night he had to go out there and basically try and score 60 fantasy points because every single night he was chucking up 25 shot attempts. So far this season, let's just take Westbrook off, not Bryant. Otherwise, we won't get much of a sample. Theme Lothan, New York City, donates $2 super chat. He says, best under 4K play for DK tonight. The best under 4K play tonight is going to be more than likely a 76er. So, yes, the best under 4K play. There's actually the answer might not be a 76er, if I'm being honest with you. The 76er that it would be Mike Scott, but I think I might like Mo Wagner more. Between Mike Scott and Mo Wagner, I'm going to go Mo Wagner just because he's a center. It's easier for him to get there and not hurt you. So I'll go $3,600 Mo Wagner over Mike Scott. The problem is positionality there. So like it takes up a big man spot for you, Mo Wagner. That's the toughest part. Like I like just projection-wise Mike Scott over Mo Wagner. If Mo Wagner fits properly into your lineup, you're going to have a little bit more flexibility probably in your lineup. So with Mike Scott. So hopefully that helps. Thanks for the super chat. Maxey's going to be 90% owned tonight. No shot. Not on a 7-game slate. If this was a 2-game slate, yeah, even then maybe. But he's going to be close, right? I mean, I think he'll probably come in at like 70% owned. Can someone please explain to me? Okay, so he's still answering about that. Somebody, LOL. Alrighty. Let's see. Embiid and Oladipo. Yeah, that seems fine. I like both of them. Oladipo, like this morning in the video before I finalized my projections, Brogdon was my favorite play from Indy, although all those guys look good between Sabonis. Just a tougher range for Sabonis right now. Him and Randall look like fine GPP options because of their positionality and where they go. Like Drummond and Embiid are the better plays. I even think that both of those guys, Sabonis and Randall, pick up ownership. Randall probably the lowest owned of that bunch. But Brogdon and Victor Oladipo, I'm going to like a lot. Right now, projection-wise, I'm liking Oladipo a little more than Brogdon since finishing that up. Missed watching the last few streams live, but wanted to say kudos for staying chill with J. Cole a few years back. Emma Watson got in the hot tub at a news resort. Man, I was not as smooth. Yikes. I don't know if that's true or not. Best pay-up options for tonight now that Luka is out. Probably Embiid. I assume that Embiid will be pretty highly owned, but not as highly owned as he should be. I'm going to be above the field on whatever like upper 20s in ownership that Embiid comes in at. But Embiid's going to look pretty nice. It's a lot of big men tonight. So outside of Embiid, non-big men pay-up options, I say that my favorite to go to is probably Bradley Beal. And as of right now, he's coming in kind of average ownership. I think the move tonight, where a slate that is loaded with value from multiple different teams, and only more is going to open up as the night goes on, I think the move is to pay up for two studs. So that is Embiid and Bradley Beal. And I think Bradley Beal should be extremely and much higher owned. Like Bradley Beal should be projected ownership-wise higher owned than Sabonis, Andre Drummond, these guys. I think he might come in there, but as of right now, it's not looking like that. So, Beal and Embiid is interesting to me from a projection standpoint, and also just getting them together with the value that we have. Embiid won't get there for whatever reason. Yeah, maybe there'll be a blowout or something like that. Maybe he'll be ruled out again. I don't know. Somebody says, I'm not touching Trae Young. Sounds good. Can you go over any locks by position? Yeah, I mean, if there's a lock tonight, it would be Maxey, but not really. Like people in the Discord, I'll usually get a question on who's like your favorite play tonight or who's like your lock tonight. For the NBA, that happens more often than the NFL, locks and stuff like that, right? Because you can more accurately project a player's range of outcomes. But it's not like every night I'm playing 100% of a guy, right? I'll do it. Like there's a good chance I'm going to play 100% Maxey tonight, right? Pretty strong chance. So Maxey would be that guy. But most nights, there's not this one guy is my favorite play. Like I've been mentioning a bunch of guys that I like so far. Like I like the combination of Beal and Embiid. I like Maxey a lot. I like Mo Wagner as a cheap option, right? Like there's multiple guys. The stuff that sets them apart is so nuanced. What is your total lineup ownership if you play that guy, right? What positionality are you looking for? What contest size are you playing? 500 people or 5,000 people or 50,000 people? What contest type are you playing? Cash or GPPs or double ups, right? So yeah, it's much more nuanced. It's really tough. That's probably like the toughest question I ever get is like, who is your favorite play today? Like this, like I can give you my point per dollar favorite play, but that also is pretty nuanced there. The question tonight though actually does apply because I do think that if you're going to lock somebody, it would be Maxey. Just looks way too good for a team that has 8 bodies tonight. And I think 4 of those bodies are literally players that are going to be shaking when they're out there touching the ball in an NBA court. Not maybe literally, but you get what I mean. Where Maxey literally just showed us in that last game that he will ball and can ball. Projected ownership on Mr. Yusuf Nurkic. Oh, it is going to be very low. Yeah, it's going to be very low, like 6% probably. Nurkic is going to suffer from positionality tonight. Nurkic, yet again, is going to look like a fine option. Nurkic is my number 11 overall play. His concern is that there is so many centers tonight, right? Whether you're going down to the value options like Mo Wagner or you're paying up for the guys that we've been mentioning, Sabonis, Randall, Embiid, Drummond, right? We can keep that list going to Vooch, right? There's so many options to go to at center tonight. Mid-range options that have upside in Chris Bouchard, right? If Chris Bouchard plays more than 24 minutes and he plays 26, 28 minutes, he's going to smash the slate more times than not at his price point of $6K flat. There are so many good center plays tonight that the one who's only playing 23 minutes a night these last couple of games because of blowouts every single night in Yusuf Nurkic is not going to be owned. If Yusuf Nurkic ever plays 30 minutes, he's probably going to score 40 to 45 plus points on average. So, yeah. Nurkic is a fine option. He's my number 11 overall play. He's a very strong leverage play tonight because when people want to pair up two of these centers, it's going to be tough for them to get to Nurkic. They're always going to be trying to pay up for those centers or going to Chris Bouchard in the mid-range. Can't blame you. Can't really blame you. Like, it's tough to get to Nurkic today because of positionality. I wish he was a power forward, center eligible guy, but just not the position he plays. Somebody says Brogdon is a lock and so is Sabonis. If lock means 100% of your lineups, no shot. Fellas, how we doing? Says Austin. How you doing, my man? He says, Sal, good afternoon. Hope your day is going well. Going very well. Thank you. The Dallas game is postponed. Correct. It is. Let me move over to some other minutes projection spots. So I'm giving Yusuf Nurkic 28 minutes because every single game he's on pace to play about 28 to 29 minutes. But every single game he doesn't play his final 6 minutes of run because of these blowouts. All right. Is 4 Sixers in the lineup too much? No, I think it's okay. Isaiah Joe slate breaker, somebody says. Potentially. I want to pull a popcorn machine on seeing some of the usage that these guys were getting from that Philadelphia game when they lost by what? They lost by 12 down the stretch by 12 down the stretch to Denver, which is just, I mean, Denver, if you look at Denver's game, it was a blowout run, so they put a lot of guys in it those final couple of minutes, but Denver unleashed their entire bench against Philadelphia in a game where Philadelphia had no players. It was like Denver was just saying, yeah, we have a full team here. Denver played 15 players. You're lucky if you see a team, even a blowout run, play 13. 12, right? They played 15 players. Talk about insult to injury. You beat a team. You really, really start to pull away basically in the middle of the third quarter, right? You're beating a team that only has 8 bodies. And let me read some of these bodies to you. Tyrese Maxey, Isaiah Joe, Dakota Mathis, Paul Reed, Tony Bradley. You probably recognize Tony Bradley, right? They didn't have Embiid in that game. So, yeah, 5 out of 8 guys. You had Dwight Howard, Danny Green. That's basically it, right? That's basically it from a veteran presence, like an actual veteran presence, leadership presence out there. They had 8 guys, and Denver said we're going to play 15. But yeah, in that game, I mean, you saw Maxey basically play the entire game, 44 minutes. So he started. Isaiah Joe started. Mathis started. Danny Green started, right? So you're going to get some big minutes there. Paul Reed was in and out of the lineup with Mike Scott now back. I don't expect too much upside in Paul Reed's minutes, mid-20s. Obviously not expecting mid-20s for both Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley with Embiid expected to play today. So, yeah, going to be a crazy slate. Already is a crazy slate. What's up, everybody? Still have to work. Waiting on this lady to finish her shot. That's right, her shot. Sipping it like a fucking martini, somebody said. LOL. Let me see if there's any news coming up because we're not completely up to date on the chat right now. 4:13, I'll probably stand for about 20 more minutes. Again, if you're just joining right now, I know a couple more people, about double the people, 500 people in here, so appreciate that. I'll be live at 5 p.m. I already retweeted the link, so it's like right at the top of my Twitter. So you can check that out. I'll be live talking about golf. Sony open this week in Hawaii. They're still in Hawaii right now, so be sure to check that out. I'll be live from about probably 5 to 5:50, 6 p.m. East Coast time for an hour with Rick Gaiman. It's not on Rick's YouTube channel, not on mine. It's going to be on the First Cut podcast channel, which is, I believe, a CBS podcast. So excited about that. We're going to be talking about some first look type stuff. Been spending a lot of today researching it, so it's going to be more in depth than just a first look, like a first glance at salaries. Salaries came out for golf round 3. If you're not somebody that's interested in golf, I have projections, I have rankings, ownership, that type of stuff on Patreon as well. I plan to do a golf video this week, if not a video, definitely a Wednesday live stream. So yeah, golf officially came back last week in a no-cut event. This is going to be the first actual week that I play DFS golf. I didn't play last week. I like bacon for some reason. Yeah, I personally like the food bacon. Bought some today, but I'm not going to be playing Dwayne Bacon. Liked him when he was on Charlotte, and he got a little bit more usage. Really tough for me to like him now. Somebody says, I hope Mo Wagner has slept on. Me too. PJ is solid today. Yeah, PJ Washington, decent. Price points up there. Probably not going to get to too much of PJ Washington. LaMelo is like the guy in that team for me. Gordon Hayward, I think, still has a ceiling on him that makes him fine. Bismack, if he plays 27, 28 minutes, can do something for you in a GPP, but really not there. Nice point guard value today. Yeah, I mean, there's some decent guard value, right? Whether you're looking at Maxey, some of these Knicks guys look good. Quickly is going to look a little bit better now that Reggie Bullock was ruled out. For some cheap options, a lot of the Philadelphia guys, Chris Paul, I think, is actually a pretty decent value option at just $7,200. There's a real argument to be made that he should be like an $8,000 player, $7,800. Hawks are not blowing out the Sixers if the Nuggets couldn't. Yeah, I mean, what is your consideration of a blowout? 30 or 40 point blowout, those rarely happen. But I would say that the Nuggets pretty firmly held that game. Like if you're just looking at the finishing score of 115 to 113, I mean, a 12-point win is pretty good, but that was a blowout. The Sixers to close the game went on a 12-2 run, right? They went on a 12-2 run to close out the game in the final 2 minutes and still lost by 12. So with 2 minutes left in the game, they were down by 20 plus. I'd consider that a blowout. So can Atlanta blow out this Sixers team? Yes. This Atlanta offense is playing like a top 10 offense right now. Is there some turbulence in Atlanta going on right now? Yes. John Collins and Trae Young are clashing. They are clashing. There is some talks about in their practices right now. John Collins is trying to play for a contract and get more usage. He's trying to tell Trae Young to pass the ball a little bit more. And Trae Young did not like that at all. Trae Young did not like that. A little bit spitefulness in terms of the reports coming out of there. So you can say that what that's going to do to the chemistry, maybe keeps the game closer, maybe they don't play, whatever, all that type of narrative stuff. But at the end of the day, a Philadelphia team that is down 6 of their normally 10 rotation bodies at the very worst, or at the very best, you can try and argue with me 5 out of their 10 if you're trying to tell me that Korkmaz isn't in the rotation as much or something like that. Yeah, they can lose to this Atlanta team that is basically healthy outside of guys that they haven't had all year, like Chris Dunn. Bogdan's not going to be playing today, so I guess that's one guy. But Rondo basically hasn't played all year, so yeah. This Atlanta team can blow out this Philadelphia team, no doubt about it. And I would say that Denver definitely blew out the 76ers up by 23 with 2 minutes left. So I would consider that a blowout with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left. Yep. So do you think it's possible Embiid gets pulled early if they're getting blown out, especially with his back problems going on? If they're getting blown out, yeah. Like I think it's possible for Embiid to miss a shift, play 27 minutes instead of 32, right? Play 28 instead of 33. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it's possible. Cole Anthony sucks. Too expensive. Cole Anthony has been bad this year. He's shooting 34% effective field goal rate. That is pitiful. That's bad. But he's picking up assists, he's getting usage, and he's picking up rebounds. So the second he starts making shots, he's going to be decent out there. No Fournier, no Michael Carter, no Fultz. So you like LaMelo tonight? Yeah, I do. He's my favorite player from Charlotte still. Thoughts on Booker tonight? I prefer Chris Paul on that team. Somebody says fresh cut as always. I don't got no fresh cut right now. Hopefully later in the week, though. This is like 10 days old. Appreciate it, though. Thanks. Sal, do you stream on Twitch too? No, I used to stream to both. I used to do like a simulcast or simulcast. I used to have them both going up at the same time. Technically, I'm an affiliate on Twitch, but I'm not a partner. I think you have to have like 1,000 people watching concurrently or something like that to be a partner for a certain amount of hours. I probably should. Like, I should look into Restream, where I think you pay like $25 a month or $20 a month to be able to stream to both Twitch and YouTube. It might actually be 50, so I have to look into it. But I used to use Mob Crush to stream to both, and Mob Crush for some reason was free. They reached out to me, so I was streaming to both. It's technically against Twitch's guidelines. You're not supposed to be able to stream to multiple spots. What you have to do technically to use Twitch's airwaves is only be able to stream to that location. So I would only technically, if I actually followed the rules, would only be allowed to stream to Twitch, and then 24 hours later you can post it to YouTube, which is weird. I would say, I don't know if that's still the rules. Those were the rules like a year ago when I was doing it. But Mob Crush was free. Then I started having problems with Mob Crush. Like the server would just like drop, and it did it like 2 times a week, and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I haven't. But if you have any advice on, probably Restream would be the platform. I also never really got much views on Twitch. Like NFL Sundays, the most viewed stuff, right? NFL Showdown Slates, the most viewed stuff, like 1,500 plus people. Those on Twitch, they might get like 20 people. So like these types of videos, I would assume would get like 10, right? So I don't know if it's worth the 50 to 25 or $50 a month, whatever it actually is, right? So the answer is no. Ennis is ruled out. So James Ennis is ruled out. That must have just happened, right? As we were talking about some of the other guys out for Orlando today. So that's going to be important. If he is, wait, was Ennis ruled out, or is that just what you're saying? And James Ennis ruled out 2 minutes ago. Okay, cool. I'll update that on the projections. James Ennis, I was giving 24 minutes today. So another body that's going to be giving more minutes to Dwayne Bacon. Another body that's going to be out today, allowing more minutes to Gary Clark, right? All these types of guys. If Mo Wagner starts, he is worth a lock. I would like Mo Wagner a lot if he starts. I think it's going to be Robin Lopez. I have them splitting minutes, 24 apiece right now. I can go to Washington's minutes. I have them currently splitting minutes. I gave 24 minutes to Robin Lopez, 24 for Wagner. I like Wagner more, and he's cheaper, $400 cheaper, so or $500 cheaper. But if he starts, yeah, he's already a very strong play. Becomes even better. If you don't want to load up on Sixers, what cheaper options do you like tonight? $5 super chat. I appreciate that. The cheaper options that I would like if you're not trying to load up on cheaper Sixers tonight would be Mo Wagner, $3,600. Like him. I don't really like Langston Galloway, but he's $3,000 and he's going to grade out his value, but I'm not really into that. Emmanuel Quickly is in my player pool right now with no Reggie Bullock. I think Quickly touches the 20s in minutes. He's only $3,200. He's shown the ability to average a point per minute at times this year and get hot. But cheap options, ones that I feel pretty confident about outside of the Sixers guys, would be Mo Wagner. I do like Cam Johnson. I think that you can continue to go back to Derek Jones because he continues to play 33 minutes a night and only be 3,800. It's not great, but it is what it is. And that's about it. Like, I don't need to get to Aaron Holiday. I don't need to get Isaac Okoro. I have no interest in doing that, really. James Ennis was just ruled out. So, yeah, the cheaper options in that, like, lower 4 to 3K range. Not much outside of, like, Mo Wagner, Cam Johnson, who's 4,200, and Derek Jones, if you're not counting the Sixers. Can you short your Google Sheets by points per minute, please? Yeah, the points per minute stuff is sorting by that is probably not worth it because there's some guys with smaller samples, and these are not my like projected points per minutes or even my final points per minutes. These are sort of like baseline stuff. But it's going to be what you basically think it would be, right? Like good players are going to be a higher point per minute guy. Chris Bouchard, like guys like that are higher point per minute. You've got guys like Drummond in here, 1.6. Luka would have been like a 1.65. Giannis 1.6, normally 1.9, but seems like Drew Holiday's actually in Middleton playing hot so far this season is pulling away from that. But yeah. Any love for Denny? Not really. No. Hey Sal, Giannis and OG or Randall and Victor Oladipo? I'll go with Randall and Victor Oladipo there. I think that there's a little bit of a higher ceiling that usually gets hit to there. I have Joe in my lineup today. Best of luck. Best of luck. I'm rolling with 6 guys from Philly in my lineup. Yikes. Who's your favorite piece from the Atlanta and Philly game? Maxey. Maxey would be my favorite piece. If I just wanted to donate my money to strangers, would you recommend that I play JJ Redick? So I assume that literally means you want to donate because I assume you know that game is canceled. So no, I would not recommend that. If you want to donate to strangers, I would do it somewhere where DraftKings doesn't take 10% and those strangers aren't going to just gamble it back. They're actually going to do something with it. All right. If Rivers and Peyton both start, who do you like better? Let me pull up the next minutes. Now there's no Reggie Bullock. The answer for me that way, I do think that you're probably going to see both of those guys start. Let me pull up my next stuff here. I believe my answer is still going to be Peyton there. But yeah, Rivers has been playing really well lately. Obviously, just earning himself minutes. My answer there will be Peyton. I have Peyton for about 6 more fantasy points. When you talk about point per dollar wise, factoring in the salary of $1,100 difference, it's kind of close. Does Bacon take a bump with Ennis out? Some, yeah. I mean, I mean, we're looking at Ennis, who's a 0.6 something fantasy point per minute producer, who's going to play 20 minutes. So, like, him being out, it might give some minutes to Bacon. It might get Bacon from a 26, 28 minute projection to 28 to 30, right? Maybe a little bit more than that. It's more so going to bring another player into the rotation once I end up moving over the minutes in about 10 minutes. But, like, James Ennis is a very low usage rate player, right? He's a very low overall upside player in that offense. So it's not like him being out is like Aaron Gordon or Vooch being out. It's actually changing a lot for guys like Dwayne Bacon. Like, Dwayne Bacon is still not going to have the ball in his hands. He's still going to have to knock down all of his 5 or 6 shots tonight to actually be that much of value to you, right? So far, James Ennis, in a very limited sample size this year, has a 16% assist percentage and is averaging 0.66 fantasy points per minute. Not much is going to change for Bacon. We can look at it right now just in terms of this year. Bacon's usage rate basically goes from 16% to 15% without James Ennis. So there's nothing to that. The 1% going down because Ennis is gone. It's just the factor of a small sample. But yeah, no. Somebody says, big Knicks guy here. Quickly and Knox, don't sleep. I'll definitely, Knox, credit to him. Like, good coaching is definitely helping out. Clearly, Randall, in my opinion, RJ Barrett, Alfred Payton. Knox to an extent as well. I mean, that entire team is shooting better, is playing a little bit better. It was brutal to watch Knox 2 years ago and at points last year, just kind of clueless, not really knowing what to do out there. But I'm going to still sleep on Knox personally. Quickly's price point, I think you can at least get to him. I think there's something there. Embiid or Randall or Drummond? Embiid. Start Vooch or Embiid and Embiid. Oh, stack them both, you're asking me? Yeah, I think you can do that. I prefer other centers than Vooch, but Vooch's ownership will probably reflect that. I think Vooch will probably be, especially for the price point, pretty relatively low owned. I just question the ceiling on Vooch. Like, we know Vooch can hit 50. He can pretty consistently hit 40 to 45. How often do you get those 60 to 65 point games that I know you get from Randall, that I know you get from Drummond and Sabonis, right? So that's my only concern, like in GPPs with trying to hit the upside on Vooch. You don't need 60 points for Vooch to be in a winning lineup. He can score 48 tonight being a winning lineup at his price point of 8,900. But that's just my only concern is I kind of know at that point, like, the odds of this guy hitting his top 10 percentage are way lower than these other guys. And my goal is for that to happen. Sabonis in a good spot? I think so. Randall has high upside. Yep. Sabonis or Randall for you tonight? So I think Randall will come in lower owned. Won't be anything dramatic, maybe like 5 percentage points. But let me see which one I have grading out better. Between Randall and Sabonis tonight, I'll actually factor it by fantasy points. I currently have Sabonis as the better play. Sabonis is $300 less, and I have Sabonis for about a point less. So I do have Randall projecting out for a point more than Sabonis, but factoring in price, I have Randall as a better play. In the mid-range, do you like Hunter at 6.2K? So Hunter has been playing very well. I think he's appropriately priced, if not a little bit overpriced now. This might just be the new Hunter, right? He's been playing great this year, rebounding a ton right now. I just don't want to pay 6.2K for a guy that, yes, he's been consistently getting you 30, but you still have to hold your breath for him to get you to 30, right? So this is not a guy that I feel comfortable is going to go out there and score 40 pretty consistently. At $6,200, I think he's appropriately priced, so I don't really want to get there. I mean, he's averaging at a 17% defensive rebounding clip right now. He's averaging close to 1 fantasy point per minute, and he plays 30-plus minutes a night. So he's appropriately priced. When we take into account what he was doing last year, he's a totally different player now, but you still have to at least factor that in, which tells me that I'd be comfortable paying like 58 to 6K for him. On this slate, I don't think you have to get there, but at 62, I'll probably stay away. Somebody says Hunter is expensive. Yeah, I think that he's appropriately priced to slightly expensive. Nurkic or Drummond a better point per dollar play tonight? Let me pull that up. So Nurkic is definitely high up there, but the answer is going to be still Drummond for me. Not by much. Drummond I have as my number 9 overall play. I have Yusuf Nurkic as my number 11 overall play. There's less risk I would consider with Drummond's minutes, with him getting to 30, right, compared to Nurkic just because of these blowouts. What's helping the Knicks is Tibbs plays them all 58 minutes a game. Yeah, I mean, if he trusts the guy, he's going to play you. So RJ Barrett and Randall, yeah, they're getting like 36 to 38 minutes a game right now because he trusts them. Somebody says, I can't see the stream for some reason. Not sure why. I think it's all good on my end. Best center for tonight, I will go with Embiid there. I think the best point per dollar center is Mo Wagner, but overall, when you factor in fantasy points, I'll go with Embiid. I'm going to stay live for about 3 more minutes, and then I'm going to hop over to set up some stuff for a 5 p.m. stream. That if you're just tuning in, we're doing a 5 p.m. stream on the First Cut podcast. You can just look at my Twitter, at Sal Vetri DFS, if you want to join into that live. I'll be doing it with Rick Gaiman. We got almost 600 people in here for an earlier start, so I appreciate that. A lot of slow-paced games today, looking like the Phoenix and Toronto is a nice pace-up spot. I think Anunoby is in a good spot. Yeah, I mean, that's all. Anunoby's in a fine spot. I prefer almost every other Toronto Raptor, but that's nothing against Anunoby. He still looks decent today. It's just that Chris Bouchard is too cheap if they're going to start him again or give him 24-plus minutes. I like Pascal the most. Lowry and Fred VanVleet just kind of look like, okay, they're there. We know what they do. Fred VanVleet probably a little bit overpriced now. I'm new to this, so do you stack a couple of guys with some cheap guys or all just level players? Yeah, what's up, man? Welcome to the NBA DFS streets. Yeah, you're in for a trip. So be sure to track the news. That's the biggest piece of news that I can give you, and advice, really. There's a link down below in the description for anybody who wants to check it out. Just something I wrote 2 years ago about NBA DFS, a lot of tips and strategies, about 10 tips, a couple pages long of a Word doc. Now, some of that stuff's not relevant anymore in terms of like me stressing cash games, because 2 years ago I thought that they were still in play. You could win. At one point, I won 17 nights in a row in cash games. That's obviously just a hot streak. But I was like, holy shit, yeah, this is definitely still beatable. Now it's a little bit tougher when everybody's really keen to the news. But tonight, I think, is a stars and scrubs, if that's what you're asking. Stack some expensive guys. You don't have to stack guys from the same team. It's not the same as other sports where correlation matters a lot. It's actually probably quite the opposite. But yeah, I think that tonight, stars and scrubs. You can build balanced lineups. Balanced lineups tonight with a bunch of 8 and 7K guys look decent, but I think the stars and scrubs are going to be better. Who's your favorite small forward? I don't play FanDuel, so like positionality is not something that I really stress. Like, a lot of the small forwards that I'll be looking at tonight will also be shooting guard eligible or power forward eligible, so it's really hard to answer that just for small forward. Like Danny Green will look like a pretty strong value option. I think Mike Scott's only power forward eligible, I believe, if somebody wants to answer that for me on DraftKings. Could you fade the Philly versus Hawks game in a GPP? Probably not. You could, yeah. Whiteside minutes. Yeah, so I'm actually projecting Rashawn Holmes in tonight and Bagley in. No reason not to project Bagley in, but I'm projecting them both in. So Whiteside, I'm only giving Hassan Whiteside, I gave. Where is he right now? Did I even give him minutes? Hassan. Yeah, so I guess I gave Whiteside no minutes tonight. I'm projecting both Bagley and Rashawn Holmes to play. So I gave Whiteside no minutes. If you want to give him 6 or 8 minutes, I think that that's possible. But if Rashawn Holmes misses, I think you give Whiteside somewhere around 20 minutes. Halliburton on DK, not for me, really. Sacramento's not that appealing of a team tonight. Seems like they're still giving somewhat of a minutes limit, 30, 32, instead of like 34, 35 upside to De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, Sacramento doesn't look that great outside of those centers. Like, I like Rashawn Holmes and Bagley. I like Bagley even more if Rashawn Holmes is out. More minutes at the center for him, but I like both of those guys mainly. All right, gang, I think I'm going to bounce. I wish this dude's voice can go into slow-mo. No shot. I'm an Italian from New York. No shot. Blame my parents. So are we fading Nurkic? It's tougher to get there. I think he's still a fine option. It's tougher to get there for sure. Thoughts on Beal? Like him a lot. Mike Scott and his only power forward. All right, that's what I thought. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to bounce. I have a half an hour until I have to do another live show, so be sure to check that out. Come support if you like golf or you want to learn more about DFS golf. This week's event is the first fuller field event, I guess you can say, of the season. So be sure to check that out. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Best of luck, everybody. Down below is a link to Patreon, projections, rankings, all that type of stuff, Superdraft stuff. Check out Superdraft, the presenting sponsor of the show. I saw somebody ask about their favorite Superdraft play or my favorite Superdraft play. It's going to be my favorite DraftKings play tonight because he has a 2x multiplier and projects out for 35.5 DraftKings points for me. That means that he has over 70 fantasy points projected on Superdraft. Tyrese Maxey from Philadelphia. Outside of that, I think Brogdon is an extremely great play on Superdraft. Fine play on DraftKings, but an extremely great play on Superdraft where he has a 1.45x multiplier. If you're not playing on Superdraft tonight, if you're one of the 630 patrons and you don't have a Superdraft account, I don't know what you're doing. At least try it out. Give it some time, right? It's a great spot, especially on a night tonight where some guys are going to continue to get ruled out throughout the night on a bigger NBA slate. That just normally happens, right? There's going to be a lot of zeros in people's lineups. More so than any other DFS site because this is a newer site and people check it last. They change their DraftKings stuff. They do some other stuff, right? They don't have the app on their phone like they do DraftKings, right? That type of stuff. So be sure to check it out. Link down below. My name is Sal. I'll get you a free money bonus up to $8,000 Rooskies. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Any questions you get, reach out in the Patreon Discord. Peace out, gang.